Hey everybody, it is February the 8th. No, it's not. Anyway, and I want to tell you, I haven't showered since the last time I saw you.
Oh, no.
I think I'm funny. Let me hook up my little phone here really quickly. My house is really busy this afternoon. People are running in and out when they're not supposed to be. Okay, we're going to start on page 404, and we're going to start talking about class chondrichthyes. Okay, now, a couple more little word here. Chondro means cartilage. Ichthyes means fish. You ever seen the little, let's see if I can draw it for you here. Y'all ever seen those? You know, that's a Christian thing. That means, that's called an ichthus. That means fish. And, you know, the early Christians would draw it in the sand to show that they were Christians. Ichthus. Here, it's ichthyes. So, chondrichthyes means cartilage fish. And there is a whole class of animals that fit that, and they are sharks. Sharks, skates, and rays. I think they're really cool. Okay, and my little boys brought me some helpful teaching tools today. Okay, so class chondrichthyes comes from the Greek word chondros, meaning cartilage, and ichthyes, meaning fish. Now let's look over on page 405 at members of class chondrichthyes. At the very top left, we have a blue shark. On the right, we have a Caribbean reef shark. You can see that they're both sharks, but they look a little different. Tiger sharks look different. Great whites look different. Hammerheads look different. Get the point? They can look very different and have different characteristics, but their overall body structure still is the same. Below that is a blue spotted ray. And then on the right is a thorn-backed skate. We're going to talk about the differences between those in just a minute, okay? So let's talk about sharks. All of a sudden that song came in my head, but I'm not going to glorify it with singing it, although my head is singing it. It is. So I have a little boy over here and a little girl over there. All right. First, we're going to talk about their body structures. So we're going to start talking about the shark and this one. Yes, it does. This one is missing a fin, so because it's a toy. It's a toy. Okay, so this is a shark, kind of. Okay, so we're first going to talk about all its different fins. These little fins here are called pectoral fins. Pectorus means chest. Okay, when we talk about bones, we talk about a pectoral girdle, we talk about your pectoris muscles, and a pectoral fin just means that it comes out of its chest. That's its little side fins here. Okay, the next is the caudal fin. It's easier to see on the back page, on the next page. If you want to go ahead and turn over to page 406, you can see all these a little better. Next is the caudal fin. The caudal fin is the fin that's on the very end of the tail and kind of works like a rudder. Okay. Next is, let's see, it's dorsal fin. Remember I told you all that it had a dorsal fin. Dorsal means back. So this is its dorsal fin. Now this is called the anterior dorsal fin because it's in the front of, there should be another one right here is pictured. It's called the posterior dorsal fin. Now, so let's see, we have discussed the caudal fin, the dorsal fin, the play one there. We've discussed the pectoral fins. Now we're going to talk about the pelvic and the anal fins. The pelvic fins should be just about where this little tag, this little tie Beanie Baby tag is. Oh, now look, here we go. You've got your pectoral fins. I know, look here. Our dog chewed its face off. But he's got all his fins. He's got his anterior dorsal fin, his posterior dorsal fin, his caudal fin, his pectoral fins. Here he's got his pelvic fins, and right here is his anal fin. That's his little bottom. Okay, so although sharks do have eyes with receptors that are connected to the optic lobe, I don't ever want to see a shark's eye. Don't want to get that close. Although they do have receptors that are connected to the optic lobes of the brain, their eyesight is not good. However, the shark's nose that leads to the receptors which communicate to the olfactory lobes of the brain are very keen. They are very sharp. Did you know that a shark can sense one drop of blood? Oh, get her to stop. They can sense one drop of blood 3 to 5 miles away. Hey, Jack, can she go back to your room with you, please? Even though the shark uses both its eyesight and its sense of smell to hunt prey, neither one of these senses alone could lead to enough prey to sustain its voracious appetite. So, most sharks have what's called a lateral line, or this canal that runs through their body. Runs the whole length of their body. This canal is full of receptors that can detect very small vibrations in the water. These receptors indicate to the shark's brain that these vibrations come from something that they want to eat. So, the most sensitive means that the shark has for detecting prey is its three-dimensional electric field sensor. That's insane. So, its eyes, they're great. I mean, they're not so great, but they do serve a function. They can see what they're getting. Their sense of smell is very keen, but even more keen than that, even more sensitive than that, is their lateral line that feels the vibrations. You remember how people say if a shark is around you, don't start flailing because they think that you're, they'll immediately start coming after you. Don't start flailing. It's because of that lateral line. It senses those vibrations. But even crazier than that is they have this electrical field sensor that senses electrical impulses. That's nuts, y'all. This electrical field lets them detect a flounder under the sand. That's something. Did you know that your circulatory system works off of an electrical field? And their little electrical field detector helps signal them to a beating heart. That's insane. Love it. I think sharks are super cool. My son also wanted me to show you Tina. This is Tina. Tina is his favorite shark. He loves Tina. Why he named this thing Tina, I have no idea. He has all these sharks, of course, but he has a weighted blanket that is sharks. He has a king-size blanket that's like that soft stuff, like little throws are made of. It's that super velveteen-like stuff. He's got one of those in shark. He has clothes that are sharks. He has toys that are sharks. He has a costume that is sharks. He's got this big shark head. The boy loves sharks. A few years ago, all he wanted for his birthday was to go see the Meg. He talks a lot about sharks. He knows a lot of facts. So I'm thinking, okay, Lord, what do you want to do with this kid that he likes sharks? He loves the ocean. He wants to see sharks in the ocean. I don't want to see any. I can go on vacation. I don't care to see any. He wants to see him. He wants to look at him. He's amazed. So whatever the Lord has in mind for this kid, he's very intuitive and curious about sharks. So we'll see. He might be a marine biologist. He might be a fisherman. Who knows? That is a picture of their anatomy and how they find their prey. I think that's super cool. Let's look on page 408, Raisin Skates. Rays and skates are flat and thin, not torpedo shaped like a shark. They're often called birds of the sea because when their fins are doing like this, they look like birds. Their pectoral fins look like huge wings that propel them through the water. Their teeth are blunt. They have squared teeth. If you've ever seen them, they're hysterical. Matter of fact, I'm going to look it up because I think it's really funny. Let's see. Teeth of a ray. Images. Oh, it's showing me human teeth. Let's look up a manta ray. Okay, this picture is too stinking cute. That's a picture of a baby manta ray. Isn't he the cutest? Okay, but I gotta show you its teeth because its teeth are hilarious. Oh, boo. Let me type it in another way. Let's see. Y'all can even type it into your stuff. Manta ray teeth. That's not a pretty one. Can't see anything on there. Anyway, they're blunt and they kind of look like human teeth. They're kind of funny. Teeth. Let's see. I'm going to look up something else. Let's see if I can find it on here. Yeah, here's a good one. That's not good either. It's not showing me. Okay, here it is. Okay. Now, oh, it's not letting me look at it, guys. Hang on. Every time I click it, it takes me to something else. Let's see if I can blow this up. Okay. Look at these teeth. Those are for a skate. See how they're just kind of flat and square? Anyway, they've got flat, square teeth. And they're really cool. I've seen another picture of a ray that their teeth, it looks like they've got a set of dentures in. It's so funny. That's what I was looking for, but I couldn't find it. But they're funny. Anyway, they're huge wings. They look like birds. Their fins look like wings rather. They look like birds because they're all connected out rather than having what we would consider a fin, okay? Their teeth are blunt, ideal for crushing shells and mollusks, and the exoskeleton of crustaceans like crabs and lobsters. Rays tend to have slender whip-like tails, while skates tend to have thicker, fleshy tails. So to be able to tell the difference, I think you can look in your book and see the difference here on page 405. You can see that on this ray, its tail is really sharp and has a sharp point. On the skate, it looks more fish and eel-like. It's thicker that it goes out, and it also has some fins on the end of its tail. Let's see here. On page 409, we're going to go into the class of osteichthyes. Now, ichthyes again means fish, and oste, does that sound familiar to something that we've talked about earlier? It sounds like bone. Now we're going to talk about bonefish. These are fish that have bones rather than cartilage, okay? Now, the look is still very similar in its design. Look at figure 13.9. You've got your anterior dorsal fin. It's the fin on its back. The posterior dorsal fin is closer to the caudal fin, which is at the end here. It also has that lateral line. This lateral line can also help it. I'll talk about that in a second. It's got its little gills over here. It's got its pectoral fin, the one that comes out of its chest, its pelvic fin, and its anal fin. The difference here is the pelvic fin is a little bit closer to the front, and the anal fin is closer to the back where it would be on the shark as well. The operculum, which is the opercula. It covers the gills, and these structures get their name from the Latin word opercula, which means to cover. Durr. In order to breathe, the fish opens its mouth and draws the water in. Then, when it closes its mouth and opens its opercula, it forces the water to run out of its body that way. So, the opercula, imagine you holding a fish, like let's say you're going bass fishing, and you grab the fish by that little hook in its neck. That's the opercula, okay? That's the cover to the gills. So when they open their mouth, the opercula close. The opercula close, that's right. Okay? They don't blow out like that. I just did. Good Lord. Anyway, when they open their mouth, the opercula closes because they're drawing the water in. The gills filter out all the food and nutrients, and then the mouth closes, and the water pushes out the opercula. Pretty cool, huh? Look over to the next page, and you'll be able to see a little bit more of the anatomy of our bonefish. Bonefish. Isn't that a restaurant? I'm hungry. It's 3 o'clock. I am hungry. Okay. Let's see here. The body covering of most fish has overlapping scales, and there's special glands beneath those scales that put out mucus. So if you ever pick up a fish, it's going to be slimy and gross, and that's because it has a mucus layer over the top of it. That mucus layer, in addition to making it hard for you to grab a hold of one, it also provides a slick movement through the water, okay? Here's the major internal structure of the circulatory, excluding the circulatory system of a typical bonefish. Okay, the first thing we're going to look at is its gills at the very bottom here. Remember, I told you that the gills are what's going to start filtering out some of the stuff that's in the water. The next below its gill area is its heart. It has a liver. It has a gallbladder. Some food doesn't digest well, so the gallbladder squirts out some bile that's like an acidic chemical that helps break down the food. It has a pyloric ceca that secretes stomach acid and digestive enzymes into the gut. Then you have the intestine and the anus. That's where the food exits out. Then over here it has its gonad. That's its sex organ. It'll either have an ovary or a testy type of sex gland. Now let's go back to the front of the fish where it says esophagus. And esophagus is a place from the mouth that goes in to past the gills that has collected food and things like that. Now, a lot of bonefish will eat other fish, and those items go directly into the fish's mouth, in addition to what the gills will catch for breathing and putting out the air. Gills are stinking amazing. They are really insanely crazy. They can catch those little particles. It can pull the oxygen from the water. That's how they breathe underwater. But they're just absolutely amazing. So a lot of times these, the stuff that'll go into the mouth will go in through the esophagus that leads down into the stomach. You'll notice also up there is a brain and a spinal cord. You can see its little bony vertebrae. Its stomach is where its food will be held. So see, there are all these, the pyloric ceca is ahead of the stomach, secreting those acids so that the digestive juices, so that this food that it eats can be broken down and broken into its body systems. There is also a kidney. Look at that strange long kidney. That's really interesting as well. That kidney is going to pull some of the toxins from the blood from the digestive system and the things that it eats. It's going to pull some of those toxins out as well. Then we have an air bladder. The air bladder is it's this little organ inside a fish that keeps it upright. It is what helps it find its balance as a fish. Now, have you ever noticed that when you got a little fish, like a little goldfish or something in your house, and it gets sick, what happens? It goes belly up. Remember how Nemo faked it in Finding Nemo? So, what happens is, if it gets sick, a lot of times that air bladder will be damaged, and it will not work as well, and it will not help that fish maintain its balance. They have their air bladder, and this organ helps the fish stay afloat in the water. Bony fish are heavier than the water, so you would think that they would sink, and that air bladder helps keep them swimming. Swimming, swimming, just keep swimming. Okay, now we're going to look at their circulatory system on page 412. Let's see. Okay, let's start here with the gill. And again, the gill brings in oxygen from the water, and it is brought out into its arteries and its veins. The arteries have the arteries have blood that has less oxygen in them. The veins are the red blood that is fully oxygenated here. Well, I'm totally backwards because they have done it backwards. I'm so sorry. We're looking at the red here because I'm a cardiac nurse. That doesn't sound right, but it's pictured different than what I normally do it. So red are your arteries here, and they are fully oxygenated blood. That means that there's a lot of oxygen. It's just come through those gills, and the gills have taken the oxygen out of the water. And then you've got your arteries there that take the blood through the body. Then it is recycled through the body in these little areas here. Let's see these little patches that are just wound up? Can you see the little wound up areas where it's almost like a purple area? It's where blue and red cross. The red, being full of oxygen, sends blood to these organs. And then the blood that is sent back is blood that the oxygen has been removed from, okay? To go back through the circulatory system, the oxygen has been removed, and now it has a carbon dioxide type of component that the fish will put back through the gills and out into the water. Okay, once it goes through the gills here, though, it's released through the little flappies on the side of the head that I was telling you, the operculum that I was telling you about earlier. Okay, they have a two-chambered heart. Where we would have four, they have a two-chambered heart. The atrium is one of the chambers, and it receives blood. The ventricle is the other chamber, and it pushes out blood. It pushes blood through the fish's body. Let's see here. It has a dorsal aorta. So if somebody said, show me where its dorsal aorta is, well, all you have to do is look to the top of its back. Remember, dorsal means back, so that's where you're going to be able to see that there. Let's see, you have a posterior caudal vein. Post means the end. Caudal is that big tail in the back, and so that's where that vein is going to be. Fish are ectothermic, which means that they're cold-blooded. They lack the ability to maintain their body heat. So in order to keep going, they will go to warmer waters, one, or they'll go a little bit higher up in the water where it's not as cold. Okay, let's see. The diversity. Diversity just means so many different kinds. I mean, think of all the different kinds of fish that you would see that are not sharks or skates or rays. Okay, let's look at these pictures. First, we have a picture of a carp. Now, that looks more like a koi carp, you know, the pretty decorative carp, because the carp around here, they ugly. Then you have salmon, where I think everybody's familiar with salmon. Then you have betta fish. I don't know if I ever told y'all about betta fish. I'm sorry, I just moved my table with my foot. I don't know if I ever told you about betta fish. We had a betta fish once, and then I thought, oh, it's so lonely. So I went and bought another betta fish and put it in with the one. Can't do that. They will eat each other. The males will literally fight to the death. And that's what happened. One of the males died because he got eaten up. And so then we got another betta fish, kept it in its own little tank, but we put the bowls kind of close together because we kind of wanted them to be friends. But again, that was stupid because one of them just kept banging its head up against it, trying to get to the other male fish through the glass, And so we had to separate them. Eventually, I was like, I'm getting tired of dealing with these fish. So I got rid of them down the toilet. So anyway, then there's, oh my gosh, look at that beautiful lionfish. Look at its big, all those pretty decorative fins. Now, those are not actually functional fins. They are decorative fins. Some of them do have function, of course, but this is a decorative fish. Then look at the spiny pufferfish. Spiny pufferfish are very poisonous. Their toxins are very poisonous. They get all excited, and that's their defense mechanism, is to puff out. And if you get stung by one of those little spikies there, the poison in it is a nerve toxin. It'll paralyze you and it'll kill you. It'll stop your respiratory system. Now, this is one of the biggest delicacies in Asian countries, and you have to be certified to be able to cook this fish because you have to be able to take its little toxic cord out before you cook it. And you have to be certified to know how to do that. But also, in order to eat it, you have to sign a waiver that if you die, it's not that cook's fault. So people do it all the time. Grody. Then you have a butterfly fish. He kind of looks like a butterfly. And see the big circle on the back? It's to help confuse the other fish that might want to eat it. To confuse it, we don't know its head from its butt. Okay, so it's pretty cool, huh? Let's see. Bright colors in the fish come from cells called chromatophores. Chrome means color. These chromatophores produce pigments that give the fish their colors, which could be silver, gray, black, green, yellow, blue, red, purple, pink, all of it. Pretty cool. Fish seem to associate the color of the lionfish with danger, and they steer clear. Humans should steer clear as well because the poison of the lionfish can be deadly. So, boy, it sure is pretty, but it's deadly. Okay. Now, we're going to move to page 419. We do not do this dissection of the fish. One being because I do limit it to 3 full dissections, and I pick the ones that I think are most beneficial to you as you learn to do the dissections. And the second thing is these stink really bad. That's it. I don't want to stink things up. We used to have a what's it called? Marine biology class. They had to start going outside. They waited to do all their dissections to a latter part of the year because it was disgusting. I mean, it was so bad. So they had to go outside and do all of their labs. So page 419, this is the last thing we're going to talk about out of this unit, is class Amphibia. We're going to talk about amphibians. Amphi means both side. Bio means life. So when you talk about amphibians, you talk about both sides of life. It means dual life, literally. Amphibia, most amphibians begin their life cycle in the water and then come to live on the outside of the water. This results in an air-breathing adult. So in the water, it can breathe under. I mean, when it's born, when it's little, the first parts of life, it's inside the water, and then it comes out and becomes an air breather. Amphibians have several characteristics you'll see on page 419. Let's go over. They have an endoskeleton. That means their skeleton is on the inside of their body. They have smooth skin with many capillaries and pigments, no scales. They have skin. They have 2 pairs of limbs with webbed feet. usually webbed feet, as many as 4 organs for respiration. They have a 3-chambered heart as opposed to the fish's 2 and our 4. They are oviparous with external fertilization. That means they lay their eggs and the eggs are fertilized. Let's see, flip the page. Wait a minute, let me go back. The most interesting aspect of these amphibians are their respiratory and circulatory systems. As was mentioned above, amphibians have many as 4 respiratory organs, and first of all, they have gills during their larval stage. Remember, I told you they were in water, so they have to have gills. When the gills degenerate, they are replaced by lungs. We all know what lungs are. It is the exchange of gases. Now, like fish, amphibians are ectothermic. Okay, so that means that they depend on where they're at to help maintain their body temperatures. Now, they also go through hibernation. That is a state of extremely low metabolism and respiration accompanied by a lower than normal body temperature. So it kind of puts them in a deep, rested sleep. It helps maintain their body temperature. Their metabolism's low, their respirations are low, and their body temperature drops, but that can still maintain life, typically until it becomes warmer again. Let's look at its little circulatory system. Up here at the top, we have carotid arches. There is an aortic arch, a pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein will help get blood to and from the lungs there. The sinus venosus is the large vein, but it kind of holds some blood in there. It's a big sinus area. It's like a big hole. Then you have your left atrium. You have ventricles. Remember, atrium brings heart into the blood. Ventricles pop it out. In the very center, it shows you like the inside of the heart on the right hand side of the page. Your right atrium fills 2 spots, and then your left atrium fills 1 large spot. Let's see here. Specific creatures in amphibia. They are Caudata and Anura. Members of these orders are shown in the pictures below. You've got a salamander, that's a Caudata. You've got a frog, which is an Anura, and you have a toad, which is an Anura. Salamanders, like the one pictured here, are often mistaken for lizards, but they are not. Unlike lizards, salamanders have the webbed feet of an amphibian and do most of their respiration through their skin. Thought that was my daughter. As a result, they cannot be grouped with the reptiles. Okay. Instead, they are part of Caudata in the class of amphibia. Most salamanders are small and have little color. There are exceptions, of course. The giant salamander of Japan reaches up to 5 feet, and the tiger salamander gets its name from its bright markings on its skin. But most salamanders have no lungs. More than 90% of their respiration occurs through their skin. That's pretty amazing. Frogs, like the one pictured here, and toads belong to the order Anura. What's the difference between frogs and toads? Well, frogs have smooth, shiny skin that dries out easily, and since frogs must keep their skin wet, they spend a great deal of their time in the water. Where toads, on the other hand, have dry, bumpy skin, and they return to the water only to reproduce. So toads are out of the water most of the time, dry, bumpy skin, and frogs tend to go for water sources. They will spend time in the water, and they have smooth, kind of slimy skin, shiny. Okay, babies. We will do the frog dissection at the end of the year. Okay, I have actually created a new syllabus, and right now, let's see, is this Bio 1? Yes, right now we will be doing our labs. We'll do the worm on April 12th, the crayfish on the 19th, and the frog on the 26th. So we're going to spend 3 weeks in a row doing nothing but lab dissections. And we'll be completely finished with all of our other classwork prior to that. When we go over the worm, we will talk about the worm in class before we do it and as we go. Same thing with the crayfish. We kind of skipped that little area in the book on the crayfish. That's what we're going to do. Now, by the time that you get to the frog in the book, it says, hey, do a frog dissection. You've done 2 dissections, now you're on your own. I'm not going to leave you on your own. I have a frog dissection worksheet that you just kind of go through. You find all the parts, you work with your partner, and we'll do it that way. It'll be great. It'll be easy peasy. But we're going to do those the last 3 because, like I said, I kind of want to give us time to go ahead and continue our coursework. I know I'll be back by April, so that'll give me time to recuperate and get well, and I'll just continue to talk to you through video. You always know that you can text me, but I prefer that you email me for the next little bit. Like I said, today is actually the 13th of January, and so you won't see this till next month, about a month from now, and I'll still be recuperating, but I'm having surgery tomorrow. It's a big one, so I'll be back, but it may be a little later, so I will continue to send your virtual classes. And so what you need out of this, you have your on your owns that are due. You have your test that is due, and that should be it. They should be turned in no later than 5 o'clock on February the 15th. That's Monday, February the 15th. Turn them in no later than 5 o'clock on February 15th. Okay? Any questions? Email me, and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. I love all of y'all, and I already miss you because I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. It's been 2 months since I've seen y'all, so it'll be a little while longer, but you can at least see me on the TV. So I will see you all soon. That's a 36-minute lesson. Can't beat that, y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye.